Lord Mayor, online already? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Very nice to have you, Councillor Arias Lukwago.
Good evening.
We have from the National Unity Platform, also lawyer, Secretary General David Laus Robongoya. Very nice to have you.
Thank you for having me, and very good evening to the viewers.
We have Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, Minister for ICT and National Guidance, member of the Central Executive Committee, as Vice Chairperson, Western Uganda of the NRM. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, Charles. Good evening, fellow panelists, and good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here once again.
I'm going to request Andrew Mwenda to put his phone down so that we do the show. Andrew Mwenda, old man of the clan, all the way
M23.
All the way from Kanyandai village. Chief Executive Officer at the Independent. Very nice to have you, Andrew.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for inviting me, and good evening, viewers.
You're also the spokesperson for PLU, aren't you?
Directive Communications, that's what you should say.
Director Communications at PLU. Very nice to have you.
Thank you.
From the Uganda Media Center, a frontliner comes from Kapele Byong and Mulanda, and also from Chagwe. Ofono Opondo. Very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening to my fellow panelists and to our viewers.
And another frontliner, Shadow Minister for Finance from the PFF, Member of Parliament for Kira Municipality, Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you, and salaam alaikum to the viewers.
I want to start with you, Councillor Arias Lukwago, to bring us up to speed on the latest concerning your client, retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye. We're interested in knowing his state of health at the moment and your interpretation or explanation of where the application you took to court stands as of today.
Well, all I can say is that as a country we are embroiled in a legal quandary, or you can call it legal conundrum, occasioned by nothing else but impunity which is prevailing in the country. Right now, all the institutions that are charged with administration or dispensation of justice are in total disarray. Whoever is in charge of Besigye's matter and they are holding this file, it has become a hot potato for them. You saw what happened with Justice Singiza, and he was at a loss as to what to do. He couldn't even tell when he would be delivering the ruling. And he gave a very shocking decision or order that Dr. Besigye be returned to Luzira shortly after his appearance before court, because the order was habeas corpus, appear before court, and for the prisons authorities together with the Attorney General and other state actors to show cause as to why they were keeping him in jail. Shockingly, he just ordered that he be taken back to Luzira because he could faint within the court premises any time, instead of directing that he be taken to the hospital. The same thing happened in court today, if I may bring you up to speed, when we appeared before Awash Punancha for a ruling on enforcement of rights. Of course, we put in an application under the Human Rights Enforcement Act of 2019 for the unconditional release of Dr. Besigye, because there is no remand warrant to keep him under prison's custody. Shockingly again, she also halted the proceedings for 60 days on account of Dr. Besigye's failing health or deteriorating health, and said Dr. Besigye, she recognizes the fact that he cannot stand the trial, and therefore the proceedings are halted. Again, surprisingly, Dr. Besigye had not been produced. There was a remand warrant, a production warrant she had earlier issued, and no reprisal or reprimand was made to the prison's authorities for defying a court order. Again, she never directed that Dr. Besigye be taken to any medical facility for medical attention.
Mr. Lukwago, if
happenings in Parliament are equally buff.
If I could cut in a little there, one, we're listening to you largely as a practicing advocate, And the question is, the decision of Judge Singiza yesterday and the decision of Magistrate Nancha today, are they outside normal legal practice? Number two is, I would like to hear from you. Dr. Besigye's failing health is a result of the hunger strike he's been undergoing. Are there other, is this continuing? Has he ended his hunger strike? Is he still on hunger strike? Could you bring us up to speed on those two issues?
Hunger strike or no hunger strike, Dr. Besigye is entitled to access to a medical facility of his choice, a personal physician under the provisions of Article 23. I think that is the bottom line. That's where we have to start from before we gravitate to those issues of hunger strike, because according to Mr. Museveni, that is self-inflicted. And according to the Honorable Baryomus there, that he advised him to resume his normal whatever intake of meals. But point is, Dr. Besigye has got a right to do whatever is within his means to express his indignation at the way the rights have been abused, including going on a hunger strike. Whether he's on a hunger strike or not, you wanted me to confirm. That is now for the prisons authorities to tell, because we have not had any interaction with him. When he appeared in court yesterday, we had no occasion to discuss anything. Today, he was never brought to court, and there was no explanation as to why he was not brought to court. The fact is, whether he's on a hunger strike or not, the state which is keeping him under illegal incarceration owes him a duty of care to ensure that his life is protected. And they cannot in any way run away from that responsibility. Why are they not taking him to the hospital? Even if they don't want him to go to a hospital of his choice, why not a government hospital like Mulago? The Honorable Baryomus visited him over the weekend. Why didn't he advise or even direct the authorities there that please evacuate him, take him for medical examination, rather than making cursory observations that he seems to be now emaciated or emasculated because of hunger strike? So let us expand from our own, vocabulary, any discussion, conversation about this matter of great national concern, anything to do with the hunger strike. The issue is illegal incarceration. Why are you keeping? I would like to hear any justifiable reason. Even the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, Kafuzi today, I'm sorry, with all due respect, I'm going to make a very he made a fool of himself before Parliament to begin fumbling around with the process that they are transferring the files, as if now they can hide behind the red tape to violate the Constitution. The decision of the Supreme Court was made way back on the 31st of January. And you know for sure, any pre-trial processes have got a time frame within to be handled under the Constitution, 48 hours. The 48-hour rule is cast in stone. You cannot run away from it. No any other circumstances the state is given a latitude to keep custody of anyone without producing them before court. So we are talking about now a period of close to 3 weeks. No charges, no proceedings before any court, nothing at all is happening. And this is the reason we are saying we are back to the dark days, full throttle. Nothing to hide right now. Back to the dark days of detention without trial, and also those processes of enforced disappearance. Because we are not talking about Dr. Besigye, but other prisoners of conscience who have been kidnapped without any trace. And this is the situation now we have to contend with as you across board, regardless of our political persuasions. And I wouldn't want to hear anything from Honorable Baryomus and others who subscribe to NRM trying to rationalize this kind of madness which is going on in our country. We must deal with it squarely as Ugandans.
Thank you. Let me come back into studio here and come to you, David Laus Rubongoya. We understand your national mobilizer. Is that the title? Has been missing for some days?
Yeah.
Have you been able to trace where he is?
Well, good evening to the viewers once again. Our head of mobilization, Chairman Nyanzi Fred Sentamu, as you know, was abducted, and up to now, we don't know where he is. He was actually abducted, and people were able to record some bit of footage, although there was a lot of violence and there was some shootings. But you could see that there was a drone and people in civilian clothes holding guns. But also there was, at the scene, a police van which was trying to scare away the people. So it was very, very surprising and ridiculous to hear the police claiming not to know where he is. But it was not only Chairman Nyanzi was taken away, as the law presented in Parliament today. We have 7 people, leaders and activists, who are confirmed as missing. But this evening, just before I stepped into the studio, 2 of our election management officials, especially after exposing them, and because the car which they had when they abducted from Mpigi had a tracker unknown to these DIS or CMI fellows. And so when they checked today, they saw that, yesterday and the other day, they saw that the car was parked at Mbuya Hill at CMI. So after exposing that, this evening they drove 2 of them to Chireka, where they were released. And we just spoke with them. They are so much intimidated. You know, they told them do not speak to the press. They did all manner of things to them. They were interrogating them. What is Bobby Wine's next plan? What is his plan B? The same things they always ask these people. Who funds him? And those kinds of things. So 2 of the people that we've been looking for have just gotten home right now, just a few minutes back. So we condemn this impunity. As of now, we don't know where Chairman Nyanzi is. We don't know where other 2 male officials of the Election Management Committee are. 2 activists, one called Sharif, another called Chinobe, who was picked up from Nansana. We don't know where they are up to now, but all of them were picked up by security operatives moving in drones.
Dr. Chris Baryomonsi, you visited Dr. Besigye over the weekend and made some comments. I've seen some exchanges between yourself and Engineer Winnie Byanyima, who is the wife to Dr. Kizza Besigye. Could you tell us what state you found him in? A few people saw him yesterday when he appeared in court for those brief minutes. What is his state? What kind of discussion did you have with him, if at all? And Erias Lukwago says you're holding a hot potato as government over the Besigye matter.
No, thank you very much. And Elias Lukwago said he didn't want to hear me say anything, so he can switch off his TV now as I speak. Yes, I visited Dr. Kizza Besigye in Ruzira on Sunday in the afternoon around 4 p.m. And like I commented, he was weak, but not in the critical condition. And there are many charlatans who have started to say, we are lying, and they have never been to medical school, because that was a professional comment that I made. And of course, the weakness was occasioned by his failure to eat, to take meals. We had a discussion with his personal doctors and the prison authorities, and his doctors had wanted to take him for medical tests. The prison authorities were insisting on taking him to government facilities, but I advised that no, he can go to a clinic of his choice. And that's how he was taken to a clinic in Bugorovi. And I know the examinations which were done, I constrained myself from saying this on TV, but I can say he didn't have a material illness as such. So the weakness that you see, the frail situation, is largely because of not eating. And I think today is day 8 of his hunger strike. Of course, even you, if you don't eat, after 2, 3, 4 days, you start getting weak, because there are metabolic and chemical changes which occur in your body. If you had time, I would tell you the science. And he's still... This is a 2-hour show. It's not
Please,
elastic.
go ahead.
So I think from the information that I have...
Gentlemen,
Hold
can
on.
we listen to Dr. Varyomunsi?
No, this is the indiscipline which is a problem with you in opposition. You will have your time.
But Chris, I visited you when you were arrested. Now you are
That's
busy.
an anthem.
Honorable Ssemujju, please allow Dr. Varyomunsi to make
No,
his
the
submission.
NRM
You always
police
want to say he visited me.
NRM
You repeat it
didn't
that he
visit him
visited
when
me.
Museveni arrested him. I
So-
am the one went to visit him.
From the information that I have,
You also went.
he is still...
I didn't.
From the information I have,
So please.
can you stop with these recorders? The information I have, I think he continues with the hunger strike, and today is day 8, and every day that goes by, he gets weaker and weaker.
The big question is that you as a government spokesperson,
Yes.
why are you still holding on to Besigye 3 weeks after the Supreme Court said you can't continue with the trial in the military court?
What the Supreme
what's going on?
What the Supreme Court ruled was stop the proceedings of all the civilians in the court martial and transfer these cases to the civil courts of competent jurisdiction. And I think yesterday there was a case in court where Kizza Besigye was produced in court, and there were arguments. Kizza Besigye's lawyers were arguing that he should have been released because his warrant of arrest or remand expired. And the lawyers, on the other hand, were saying no, the Supreme Court didn't order for a release. It said transfer, and it didn't give a timeline how long you take to transfer. So they were arguing that the mere fact that Supreme Court said transfer, it acknowledged that there are charges. It didn't drop those charges, but rather it ordered transfer, and the process of transfer has been going on. And the Attorney General, immediately after the judgment, I think started the process, but I dare say, once again, that the lawyers involved, I think, delayed to extract the decree, because from the records we have, the decree was extracted and transmitted on the 14th, which was on Friday. But fast forward, I think the files have now been transferred from the court martial to the judiciary. And I think Kizza Besigye's file and the co-accused, I think their files went yesterday. So right now, the DPP and the judiciary are perusing the files, and most likely next week, Kizza Besigye will be appearing in the Chief Magistrate's Court. That's the information that I have. So we are waiting for the decision of the judge as per yesterday's hearing, because he said he will give his judgment on notice, meaning any time he can rule, or if Kizza Besigye appears in court, most likely next week, then his lawyers can ask for bail. You see, people were putting pressure on us in Kigezi. You raised this matter before the president. And I was telling them, Kizza Besigye is not appearing before the president. He's appearing in the courts of law. And the only way he can get out of prison is through a court order. Yes, the law does not allow the president to pardon somebody on remand. Let me say, as the lawyer, I think the president can only pardon somebody who has been convicted.
Yes, Dr. Varyomunsi,
Yes,
I have two lawyers on the panel. That's David Leus Rubongoya and Arias Lukwago.
Yes.
The Supreme Court decision emerged out of a petition to which Dr. Kizza Besigye and the others detained, the others in prison were not party.
Yes.
I have been listening to the arguments around extracting an order. My understanding is that the Supreme Court gave an instruction, they gave a directive on what should happen. The person who petitioned court was Michael Kabaziguruka.
Yes.
He's not in any prison facility. He's a free man out there. So the beneficiaries and the lawyers who should have extracted that court order certainly cannot have been Dr. Besigye's lawyers.
No, but they should have picked interest because
interpretation.
they were beneficiaries of that court judgment, because they had a prisoner who is remanded and who would immediately benefit from that. While yes, the court order should have been pursued directly by Kabazuguruka's lawyers, but I don't think it was proper for them to go to bed and sleep when they know.
First of all, that is also not true. Maybe to give information, and Lord Mayor will speak to it. They actually drafted this decree a long time ago, and it stayed on the Attorney General's desk for such a long time, and he was not signing it. So that's one of the problems. But also, the Supreme Court, the wording of their order was very clear that there was a word immediately. And once a decision of the Supreme Court is given, or any other court, it starts operating immediately. You do not even need to first extract this decree and all these semantics they are in.
And you see, this matter when it came to Parliament, I asked the government people, because the Attorney General told the Parliament that the court-martial has stopped immediately. I asked him, so this court-martial to hold the trials was moved by which decree?
Yeah.
Chris Bayomunsi, you look bad.
No, maybe to you.
To anyone sensible.
No.
It doesn't have to be limited
Who
to
told
me.
you you are sensible?
I said to anyone
You see, the
sensible.
problem for you is you, Isaac.
You see,
you think you are sensible. you are
this
intelligent.
Chris Bayomunsi
You say what
here,
you want to say.
when he was at Ginger Road here arrested.
Can we deal with the Besigye?
No, I am
Yes.
answering.
Yes.
And I didn't want
It's
to
not
go
your
back
turn,
to,
by the way, to speak. What is your problem?
because it is very painful to him.
To who?
They were denied him even basic things like sandals, and they told him it is Museveni who has ordered so. That's why immediately after there, you went to see Museveni in Rwakitura. So you were in prison on Museveni's orders. You are now asking, Besigye is not there, we'll say to Museveni.
So how is it related?
It is related.
How?
You see, the refusal to implement the Supreme Court decision is not a decision of cabinet. It's not his decision. It is a decision.
The Supreme Court has not been implemented.
What has been implemented?
I don't know what you are asking.
What decision of the Supreme Court has not been
You see,
implemented?
once the Supreme Court said, first annulled the sections of the EPDF Act that establish the General Court Martial, and the General Court Martial is no longer there. But that General Court Martial was the one that had remanded the Besigye. So the remand warrant expired.
That's not true.
You don't have to be a lawyer.
No.
The
So-
court martial is there.
I think
how do you say it is there? That is there.
I think
So Besigye is Ruzira on
there,
which
but
remand?
Charles,
Can
this,
we hear-
this
yes.
mob
Also
action
shooting civilians.
needs to stop. I think
think
that
if
first
soldiers
of
now
all,
commit
the
crime,
opposition
They cannot be taken
people
to court martial.
are trying to
commit civil
blackmail
crime, they can't.
government by whipping public sentiment on a serious legal matter. Guys, let us have one discussion. The Supreme
Who
Court
told you it
ruled,
is your turn?
Hold it. Hold it.
the Supreme Court's judgment, the Supreme Court's judgment was that the trial of civilians should not happen in the General Court Martial.
No, the
It
Supreme
should
Court
happen.
Hold it,
actually
hold it, hold it, hold it.
nullification of the section that establishes the court martial.
Listen,
Hold it, we'll pull down,
Supreme
we'll
Court's
pull
That was the
judgment.
decision.
We'll pull down
So
the
you can see
decision.
he's heckling. Is this a
Yes,
problem that
please,
we have with them?
allow one
You
person.
was authorized you to speak. You also have
He is the one who has authorized me.
Honorable Ssemujju.
Yes.
Yes, let's be fair. You jumped
No,
in.
but-
No, you
but
jumped
it's
in.
very
So allow
hard.
other
We
people.
know-
It is very
we
painful.
know- Charles,
And-
we know
please,
the kind of people we are dealing with.
Andrew, go ahead.
So here is the issue. The Supreme Court's judgment was very clear. It said civilians should not be tried in the court martial. The case should be transferred to the High Court. It did not say that the charges against Besigye are illegitimate or illegal. It's not in the judgment. Therefore, what has to happen now is to transfer the case to the court. It did not say Besigye should be released. It did not imply that Besigye should be released. But let me, guys, tell you. You see, for me, the opposition, as you can clearly see, and Besigye supporters, try to run from the substantive issues of this case and hide behind the emotions. One, if Besigye is in bad health, as a result of what Dr. Beyogeredde has said, him going on hunger strike, if Besigye is trying to commit suicide, it is his right to do so, in my view. He can take his own life. But he cannot use hunger strike to blackmail government to release him. Besigye is arrested in a meeting where he was planning to overthrow the government violently, in which case thousands of Ugandans would have died. Two, in that same meeting,
That's an assumption, Andrew.
well, at least we all have the audios. And these audios, I told you the last time I was here.
Supplied by your boss, Moses.
Those audios, I sent them to a friend of mine at Microsoft and 2 other friends at Apple, and they told me 2 things.
You got them as who, Andrew?
Well, as any person.
And it's where you have a
so do you see?
So you Mwenda, you got these audios as who?
So do you realize the trick? He's running away.
Who is persecuting Besigye?
But can you stop interrupting so that we can have a
I'm
debate?
just shocked that you say I have the audio. Mwenda has the audio
like this.
Honorable Ssemujju, please hold
Can't
it.
you first
You'll have
listen
your
to
time to
others
speak.
so that we can have a civilized
Let's have one
debate?
person speak at a time.
Let us have a public debate.
You can only have a civilized
You see,
debate when
it does not matter how I got them.
So Mwenda, it does.
It does not matter how I got them. Who told you that?
Ssemujju, could you kindly respect the show?
But
Allow-
Ssemujju, can you stop
Please,
disrupting? You
hold-
will have your chance to speak.
hold your
Let me
time.
finish
No,
my
I am
point
just
of view.
asking a legitimate question. So you have these
Okay.
videos as
Honorable
who?
Ssemujju, please allow members to contribute.
So you can clearly
You'll have
see.
your time to speak.
It does not matter. You see, this is the issue I
And
told them.
conclude your thought.
You see,
in the case,
the abuse,
in the case,
the abuse
guy,
of the state
but Charles,
authority,
can't you
Mwenda.
control this
One
person?
day you are in a government chopper, you are in a military uniform, they are picking children from the
Today
street
was,
that they are
sitting
putting
on
on a
behalf of
beret,
the
and you don't see any problem with that, and then you want to civilize
Honorable
the debate.
Ssemujju, I am going to ask that.
Okay, so Besigye
please
was
allow-
planning to murder Museveni.
You are in a government chopper. So
was
where are
Besigye-
you going to murder in a government
Let
chopper?
me ask you this.
Are you a soldier?
Is Museveni,
Honorable Ssemujju, please hold
was
it.
Besigye in that meeting where he was planning to murder
Andrew,
Museveni in
Andrew,
cold
Andrew,
blood?
let me
No,
put
guys,
some
because
questions to
these
you.
people of the opposition are trying to whip up sentiment.
Hold it,
let
Andrew.
me make the point. Besigye was in a meeting planning to kill Museveni in cold blood. Did he subject Museveni to due process? In fact, I think
Andrew,
Museveni
Andrew,
is a very humane person. Why?
can I-
Because Museveni could have kidnapped or abducted him from Nairobi, killed him from there, and would never have been seen. If it was me trying to kill me, I have no.
Andrew.
Without following due process, why should I follow
Andrew,
due process?
Andrew, hold it.
Hold a
Hold it,
second,
hold
because
it,
he
hold
wants
it.
a shouting match.
No, no,
We
no.
can have a shouting match.
We can. When?
Yes, we can. We can. So
have
you
no
want
problem. We can
you
have.
want your man to kill Museveni,
You
and
have-
Museveni should sit as
You
a
have
leader.
been abusing your authority, Mwenda. You are in a chopper.
So-
You are in military uniform.
So
and then
what-
Museveni
what is
kidnaps
that-
children from
how
street
is that
and they are
related-
charged in
how
courts
is
of
that
law
related
that
to
they are
Besigye's
putting on a
case?
beret.
How is that
We are talking
related to
about
Besigye's case?
abuse of authority. That's what you're talking
in every
about.
case you come, you are always involved in the petty arguments like you are attacking him, that he was arrested, Mwenda, you were kidnapped. That's all that you do.
I am talking
Your
about
lack of
you.
intellectual quality
I am-
is not my
I
problem.
am talking about
What you need to do,
in a
maybe
government
go back to
chopper,
school or to
in
your
a
mother
gov-
and
in a
be
government
educated.
uniform.
Be educated how to be
You are
intelligent.
part of those who are
Coming
abusing
here and
authority.
whipping up sentiment
Gentlemen,
and sounding
Honorable
stupid doesn't
Ssemujju.
make anything.
Honorable
You get it?
Ssemujju.
So where did you get-
You
where
have
did
come
you
and
get
turned
it?
this debate into a shouting match.
That's
You
what
want a
you
shouting
want.
match?
Please,
Then we can have
go
it.
ahead. No
Okay, and
problem.
I'm very good at
Nobody has
it.
stopped
So I
you.
am going
So
to
you
tell
can
you,
shout.
a man Besigye was plotting to murder Museveni. Was he using due process in that process?
Andrew, can I-
was he subjecting Museveni to a court when he discusses that he wants to shoot down his shop?
Andrew, can I ask-
Museveni is a human being. Museveni has, if I were in Museveni's shoes, I would not even have that man alive,
Okay.
because he does not believe in due process. There is a process of removing a government. He does not respect it.
So
there
which-
is a process.
Which
of
process did
trying
Museveni follow to remove a government? Which process did
it
he
doesn't
follow?
matter. Museveni succeeded.
does.
Treason is only treason
So
when you
which
don't
process
succeed.
did Museveni
Should
follow
you
when he
not,
was removing a government
Besigye
here?
did not succeed. Besigye did not succeed.
Okay.
Therefore, he's subject to the law which he has violated. Museveni's
gentlemen,
greatness is that he
gentlemen,
succeeded. Besigye has failed. Here is the
gentlemen,
point. Listen,
hold
you're
it,
not going
Andrew.
to give this man
Andrew,
whatever to
hold
try
it.
to run roughshod
Yes.
of everybody.
No, hold it.
We shall, why are
Can
you?
I- can
Why
I run
are
the
you
show?
and Besigye not discussing the substantive case of what Besigye was plotting? Why are you saying, how did you get this evidence? Does it matter? Assuming I killed somebody and you stole the evidence or you bought it,
Andrew,
does it matter how you got the evidence?
Andrew,
the evidence is that the man was involved in a meeting to unleash violence on this country and kill the president of the country.
Can we put-
he was plotting cold-blooded murder.
Can we put some questions
listen,
to you,
there is
Andrew?
no
Hold
way
it a moment.
Besigye can claim that somehow his rights have been violated when he was planning to violate the rights of others.
Thank you. You've made your argument. Andrew, can we put some questions to you?
Yes.
Under the presumption of innocence, all the arguments you've just made are supposed to be proved in a court of law.
Yes.
That process hasn't happened yet.
It is under
So you're making, you are making conclusions.
That process.
Hold a moment. You're making conclusions on a matter that is before court, accusing Besigye of the many things you're accusing him of, without proof.
I have proof of audios of Besigye plotting murder.
Law, you're not a court of law.
Exactly. But okay.
That's why we are saying.
Why are there prisons and why is there remand?
Listen.
Why is there? I want to ask you a question and you answer it. Every time somebody commits murder They are remanded in court. I mean, they are remanded by court and they are taken to jail.
And right now there is no.
Does that mean that the presumption of innocence is taken away? But for me, even that is irrelevant because these people are being political. For me, the question is, when Besigye was plotting to kill Museveni, what due process was he getting?
Can I correct you? When Besigye was allegedly,
you think Museveni is not a human being?
Allegedly plotting to kill Museveni.
I cannot say allegedly.
Someone is suspected of having committed murder.
I have a confirmation of Besigye's voice. I am not. The court can follow its own process. I'm not here to argue as a judge. I'm here to argue as a person who got evidence of Besigye's voice in a meeting planning to kill Museveni in cold blood. You cannot say that's a very simple thing.
Let me ask.
And let me tell you just 1 second. 1 second. I think Museveni, Yoweri, you trust me, I will be killed in defense of you on this issue. I think you're a very nice human man. Because a man who was planning to kill you, you abduct him from Nairobi and bring him before competent courts. What would Idi Amin have done? Or any other person for that matter? Did the Americans take Bin Laden to a court of law? Besigye was planning terrorism. So he could even have been killed in that meeting. So for him to begin playing this stance of not eating in a prison and you coming and making noise and defending a cold-blooded murderer, a person who was planning cold-blooded murder, I find it very demeaning and disgusting.
Let's listen, if you could, yes, Ofono Pondo, and then we'll bring in Council Arias Lukwago.
Well, I hope we shall have a calmer debate after that.